Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with the first episode of Rise of the TMNT. So, I made the joke yesterday about how, with Spy Family being put on hold for the time being, just to take a short break, we could, like, with having no schedule for our format, I could just get to Rise of the TMT tomorrow. And I'm doing that. um, I just think that's funny. But at the same time, it's like I didn't actually plan to do that. I just decided to do this today because I decided I really wanted to check this out. I really wanted to get to this. I could have waited a few days. I could have even waited till next week, but I want to check it out. I want to see what this is like. So, as I stated in the other videos, I grew up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. More casually, like I never got huge into the lore and the very specifics of it. And I know different shows, different iterations um, do the lore a little differently. There's comics and whatnot on top of the shows. There's movies. There's the live action stuff. And I've only engaged in some of that. I used to watch the cartoons that were on TV, some of them earlier ones, I guess you could say, from the 90s and early 2000s and whatnot. And I had some VHSs, I had toys, yada yada. Um, so, so, um, right off the bat, when I was younger, my favorite was always Michelangelo. And I think the reason for that was because of his goofier personality. I think I just, as a kid, really attached myself to that, which is fair. I mean, of course, kids are going to like Michelangelo a lot more. He's like a kid himself. As I grew up, though, I did naturally start to like all of them for different reasons and to different degrees. I like the coolness of Raphael. I like Donatello. I like Leonardo. I like all of them to a degree. And Splinter as well. um, and I've seen multiple iterations. Like I said, I've seen multiple versions. I saw the Batman versus TMNT movie, which was really surprisingly really good. And actually worked really well. Also set up for a sequel, weirdly enough. Um, but I don't know if that's actually ever going to happen. But yeah, it was really good, and like I said, more casual fan personally. Um, so I never checked out the 2012 series or this series though. And the reasoning wasn't anything against them or anything I heard about them. I just never did. Because, like I said, I was a more casual fan. And I never really, followed through with it a lot. It was never, I guess you could say, big on my radar compared to other things. Especially once I really started getting into a lot more after MLP kind of opened my horizons, I guess you could say. Once I started getting into a lot more different shows and whatnot, I kind of left TMNT to the wayside. And again, I didn't dislike it or start thinking oh, this doesn't live up to some of this other stuff I've started checking out. No, it just kind of faded from my viewership for a while, in the same way that Total Drama did. And it's I still always like Total Drama, but I just stopped watching. And I never watched Redonkulous Race when it came out, so I'm enjoying the shit out of it now. So there you go. Um, but yeah, so I'm hoping the same thing applies here. I'm hoping to enjoy the shit out of this series, even having, for the most part, been away from the franchise for a while. So, what are my thoughts on some of the changes that I know about? Well, I'm not going to go into too much details, but I'm going to go over facts that are just widely known, things that are just not like story related, I guess. Um, like, for example, character designs. I do know that Splinter in this is heavier set than in most iterations. And I think that's fine. I don't see an issue with that. Like I don't think there's really any reason to be upset about that. Um, Splinter never needed to be thinner necessarily, so it doesn't really matter anyway. And really, that kind of stuff doesn't tend to matter in the first place. I also know that April O'Neil, the main female, in a lot of iterations, sidekick to the TMNT, to the Turtles. I know in this, she is much more active in things. I do know that. And I do know that she is a black girl instead. Instead of the typical redheaded bombshell, she is a younger black girl. And I think she's supposed to be a teenager, I want to say, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I do know that there was some controversy regarding this. Some people just felt like she should have still had red hair. And some people, even though I don't think April O'Neil had red hair originally, I think it was more brunette, but still. Um, but there were some people who were really upset because racism about her being turned into a black girl. And those people can fuck off. But I don't care. Like, as long as the character is still good, then what's the problem? There's no issue with a franchise that has had many different iterations of the characters to change things up every now and again. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think, and this goes for a lot of fandoms, that when a show or series of movies or series of games or whatnot go on for so long, there's a lot of people that think that it has to stay the same, that it has to keep exactly the same, because otherwise it's not that series. And I will admit, I've fallen under this a little bit myself. There are points where I've seen a series or whatnot and say like, oh, you can't change it too much because then it won't be that series. Well, the biggest one for me is Pokemon. There are certain things that I have not wanted Pokemon to change, admittedly. One of which, for example, being I haven't wanted it to have too like overly like AAA quality graphics, because I feel like it wouldn't feel like Pokemon at that point if the graphics look too like AAA quality. And I still kind of stand by that, but that's also very different than complaining that a character's skin tone changes. I'm fine with stuff like that. I'm fine with more diversity and more inclusiveness being added to games, that even ones that didn't used to have them. That is fine. I'm fine with characters who used to be in previous iterations of something being changed for a new iteration. That's fine. People who complain about stuff like that, I don't understand. Some of it's fueled by racism, and some of it's just fueled by some level of, how would you put it? Entitlement, I guess, is the most logical word to use there. They feel like they are entitled to have a character be portrayed a certain way. And that's just not true. um, but yeah, I do know about that change. And again, like I said, I do know that she is a little more active actively involved in this series. So that's pretty cool in my eyes. Um, and that's about it. Oh wait, no, there is one more thing. Um, I do know that each of the turtles is a different type of turtle. Um, which when I first heard about that, I'm thinking like, wait, they're all different like types of turtles, all like different breeds or whatnot. But aren't they supposed to be brothers? But then it's like thinking about it, it's like that doesn't stop them from being brothers. That was a very, very um, temporary issue I had. I got over that literally within the same sitting that I first heard about it in, because I thought about it, it's like, oh wait, no, that doesn't really matter. They're still brothers, even if they're different breeds of turtle. And I don't know exactly what types of turtles they are because I really don't know different breeds of turtles. But yeah, it makes them stand out a little more in their design and whatnot. Um, so that's pretty interesting, I guess. But like, I don't know anything about the story or developments or whatnot. I just know basically those small things here and there. And I'm definitely interested to find out more. I've heard that this series does get pretty dark. I have heard that, but I hear that with a lot of shows, to be fair. And honestly, a lot of modern cartoons do tend to go that route. That's just common nowadays. And that's fine. I'm good with that. A lot of people think that it's too overdone now, but I'm thinking like real life can get pretty dark sometimes. And it's actually a good thing to touch on that in animation. To not just show the darkness itself, but to show how to overcome it. It's like this is something that kids could use to know, you know? This is valid considering how dark real life can get. Now obviously it some of these go a little intense with that, and an average person won't go through a lot of the stuff you see in these, obviously, even just real world equivalents. But they could. The possibility exists, and kids should be exposed to this so they can be ready to be able to handle it a lot more. I fully believe that. So, yeah. I don't know what to expect going into this. I don't even know how the show is set up. Like, is it one of those? Is it going to be like one of these cartoons more modern that are going to have like segments, or is it just going to be like each 22 minutes or so is going to just be one full episode each time? I actually have no clue. Um, I also don't know anything about how Casey Jones is going to fit into this. I always liked him as well in the shows because he was always like kind of the cool and genuinely nice guy who started sometimes as a bad guy and sometimes not. But he has like the hockey masks and the sticks and whatnot, baseball bats, all kinds of fun sports themed weapons. Always a staunch ally of the turtles and whatnot. I also wonder what villains we're gonna get in this. Like, I'm not super familiar with a lot of the villains. I obviously Shredder and the Foot Clan, but who's that other one? It's like kind of like a brain guy, I think. I'm trying to remember his name, but is it Krang? It might be Krang. Maybe. It's been a while. Shredder's obviously the most iconic. You got to have Shredder in this. But I'm just wondering elsewise. Also, with April being, to my knowledge, younger, will she still be a reporter or will there be something different about that? If it's more modern, you could do like a modern spin on that. Something like a blogger or something. Even a YouTuber would work. Like doing vlogs and stuff or just that kind of thing in general. Like that would work for a modern spin on that. And could be done easily with a younger kid. Or you could even have like a school reporter, because that I'm sure that's still a thing, having a school newspaper and stuff. I'm sure schools still do that. There's all kinds of ways to fit that in. I'm just curious. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how the turtles are given a little more depth in this. I think I heard that Ben Schwartz is one of the VAs in this. Um, he's Sonic the Hedgehog in the live action movies, and he's in DuckTales as well. Um, I don't remember which of the triplets he voices. I don't remember. I know Danny Pudi is Huey. I think he's Dewey. I think Ben Schwartz is Dewey. Because I think Louie is the other guy whose name I can't think of right now. I know Danny Pudi is Huey. So I think Ben Schwartz is Dewey. Yeah. Either way, I believe he's in this. I don't know who he voices though. Um, I can't say. So I don't know any of the other VAs offhand though, but I'm definitely willing to check them out in the credits. So we'll maybe check that out as well. Either way, I've been talking about this long enough. I'm just excited to get into this, so let's do so. When the screen, excuse me, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after fades to black and fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Okay, so, first impressions on this are a little mixed. There's certain things about this that I like. Obviously, the animation is fantastic. The voice acting, for the most part, is really good. There's only a couple characters who I was not really sure on. Splinter, for example, I felt like finding out it's Eric Bauza was kind of surprising because it's like, I don't know, something was just off about the performance. And finding out that Baron Draxum was John Cena makes a lot of sense because his performance was shit. Like, seriously, John Cena can't act. Why do people keep putting him in things? He can't act. He clearly can't voice act. Like, he's not good at this. His lines are all over the place. Not just in terms of the, writing, but in terms of how he performs them. Nothing about the way he speaks sounds natural at all. It's so off. Everything he says is just off. But I think my biggest issue with this, more than anything else, was the pacing. Because it's like the characters, their personalities are very different than what I expect with these characters, I guess you could say. The issue, though, is those personalities can work. If this wasn't so breakneck paced, it is so fast, everything is moving a million miles a minute without giving you the chance to take anything in. I'm fine with it starting at a point where they're already, going out and doing stuff and facing enemies, and, April's already their friend. That's fine. I'm fine with that being how it starts. But my issue is when this episode is moving a million miles a minute, again, not giving you the chance to take anything in, it just feels like you can't get a grip on anything. Everything is just so... The comedy, the the action, everything goes by just in a blur. I don't know how else to put it. Like, nothing has a chance to make sense. Nothing has a chance to really work in terms of comedic levels or anything. It's just, it's so fast. The minute one joke ends, another three have already begun. And this feels like this could have been 2 episodes worth of story in this episode here. It could have been 2 episodes worth of story there, yet they just rushed through it. That's another way to put it. It felt rushed. It felt like they were trying to get out this story that was too big for the episode done in just this one episode. And maybe that pacing gets better in future episodes in all of this series. But it's like it felt so insanely paced and off because of it. Again, I have no problem with the characters having wild, goofy personalities. They're acting like teenagers. Teenagers with a lot of energy, which I don't personally understand, but still, teenagers. That's just a personal issue, though, because as a teenager, I had no energy. I still have very little energy, but as a teenager, I was like no energy anywhere to speak of. It's like I don't understand how so many kids and teens can have so much energy because I never had that. But still, they generally act like teens, like dumb kids. It's like that's fine. It's just, it's so quick that nothing is allowed to breathe. And sometimes you need things to be allowed to breathe. It basically feels like they just wanted to have really fast, impressive animation and force the story to go along to that. It doesn't feel like the animation was, or like the story was thought of ahead of time. It feels like it was just put there just to go along with the animation. And that was the forefront. And that's probably not true. But that's honestly what it sounded like to me. Or what it felt like to me. And it was just so frantic and wild to a point where I was having a hard time connecting to it. I like, just watching it, my heart was racing because it was going way too fast at all times. It's just, again, I feel this could have been 2 separate episodes. It just feels like they rushed through it just to have an entire story in this first one. And I'm gonna still give it a chance, and I'm hoping that the pacing and everything and the frantic energy slows the fuck down. Because this is not the best first impression. It's not terrible. It could be worse. And again, there's a lot I did like about it. There's a lot of great creativity. The mystical stuff being brought in right off the bat is neat. I had no real issue with their personalities. Again, just even outside of the fact that they are acting like teenagers, like, I feel their personalities are mostly fitting. Raph is the biggest change I feel from the more classic ones. And I'd say my only other issue that I can think of right now would be I wouldn't say like overly constant, but still constant derp faces. Like, Did you notice that at all? Like there was a lot of derp faces that the characters were making. Like when they first like dropped into that pool and emptied it out and everything. It's like when Donnie said, according to my calculations, we are indeed rad or whatever it was. He made like this ridiculous derp face, and there were a lot of those, and it's like, why? I'm also not sure just about Splinter's portrayal here. There's nothing wrong with having Splinter be a little less overly serious all the time. But this is, I feel like, so far in the other direction that he feels like a different character altogether. So I'm not sure at the moment how I feel about that. I'm hoping that this was just a case of of like the first episode jitters, like it's still trying to find its place and still trying to figure out what it's trying to do. Because it's just I'm not sure about this right now, if I'm being completely honest. And I've heard a lot of good things about this series. I really have. And again, I can see how this could possibly get dark. But right now, it's like I don't get it at the moment. I don't get the appeal. It's it's hopefully just gonna take a little bit of warming up to. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll continue to give it a chance for now. And obviously, do not tell me what happens in the future. No spoilers. You can tell me your opinions on things. I very much always welcome that. Just no actual spoilers, for the story or whatnot. As always. But yeah, I'm hoping it gets better because right now it's just if it just continues to be like this, I'm probably not gonna like it. I'll just say that. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.